This is Ray.
This is Andy.
And this is FDS CFL Season 3, Andy. Episode 12.
Episode 12. The road to Touchdown Atlantic is almost finished. We're finally here the week of.
We're only a couple days away.
Yep, getting pretty excited. We're going to talk a whole bunch of Touchdown Atlantic in this game. Before we do that, this episode, as always, is brought to you by Moose Light. If you need a beer, get yourself a Moose Light. Why, Ray?
Because this stuff is scary good.
Mm-hmm.
Scary good.
If you need a hat, shirt, jacket, all that stuff, and you need logos on it, go see our buddies, the Doyles at Doyle Corporate Image, because...
The Doyles rule.
Exactly. Now, before we dive all the way into Touchdown Atlantic and preview the heck out of what's going to happen here this weekend in Moncton, why don't you run me through some non-Touchdown Atlantic odds and ends, because there are some interesting storylines going around the CFL.
All right, let's get to some odds and ends. We're going to talk quarterbacks, Andy. And it's funny right now in the CFL, it's like almost every team is using their backup quarterback from the one they started with at the beginning of the year.
This has been one of the worst CFL seasons that, I've followed in terms of quarterback injuries. My gosh.
You got Riley, got Harris, Dominic Davis. Outside that, everybody's on backup quarterback.
Exactly. Oddly enough, coming into this year, most people would probably have said that the best quarterback in the CFL is Mike Riley. Mm-hmm. He's one of the healthy ones, and he's having a horrendous season.
Yeah.
Now, granted, his team is having a horrendous season. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, item number 1, Matt Nichols.
Yeah.
Boy, did I get a beating on my power rankings because I didn't apply the exact same strategy with the Ticats that are with the Blue Bombers that I did with the Ticats.
I think that's why I'm not getting that beating, because I waited to react to the Ticats just like I'm waiting to react to this. But yeah, you're right. You've been a little inconsistent, Ray, and inconsistently leads to, trolls.
Trolls.
Yeah.
Nichols is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, Andy. There's no surgery necessary, which is good. They reported it as an upper body injury, but they haven't specified what that upper body injury is.
Yep.
So in comes second-year pro, number 17, Chris Streveler.
Yeah.
Okay. He is going to face Edmonton on Friday night in Edmonton. Last year, he started out the season for the Blue Bombers because Nichols wasn't ready to go.
Yep.
He went 1-2 in his first 3 games as a Blue Bomber. Had a passing rating of 58.2, threw for 570 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He also added 183 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground.
When you think back to it, because I was thinking about it earlier today, it didn't feel like 1-2. Remember, there was one game that they just barely lost, and he put up a huge game, and then they won the next game after that, and everybody was thinking, wow, because at that time, Nichols, one of the things that you talk about this season is Nichols finally throwing the ball down the field from time to time, but last year he wasn't doing that, so a lot of people were thinking the new Bombers quarterback has arrived. The league caught up to him. But, you know what? Streveler's got the wheels. And Streveler's got some experience. And I think he might be able to catch the league off guard again. Will it last? Who knows? But,
yeah. Nichols has a league best 15 touchdowns. But here's the interesting thing, Andy. He hasn't had a game over 300 yards passing this year.
Well,
a big part of that is because he's got Andrew Harris in the backfield with 819 yards, who is now the all-time leading Canadian CFL running back.
We are it's like we're watching the GOAT in terms of Canadian players, probably. Wow.
Winnipeg has a great offensive line. My question for you is this about Streveler. Can we look at this guy and put a game plan in very similar to the game plan that a Tim Tebow would have had?
I think I guess so. Yeah. I think he is going to call his own number a lot. He's young. He's big. He can, he can take a few hits, though. All it takes is one, and that's the end of it. But no, I think we're going to see something very similar to what we saw at the beginning of last season. I think he's definitely going to call his own number a lot. He's going to read the field and probably read it quick and go. And we'll see. Winnipeg's chances of hosting or getting that week 1 bye in the playoffs really going to hinge on on Streveler figuring out how to be a really more effective passer.
Well, this game against Edmonton is going to be huge because they've got a 1-game lead over Edmonton right now.
Right.
So, all right, let's move on. Next quarterback up is another quarterback that is in injury protocol right now, and that's Bo Levi Mitchell.
Yep.
Bo feels that he will be ready to go for Week 12 against Edmonton. He had a little setback in practice last week, Andy.
Yep.
Now, Dave Dickinson, he's saying, whoa. He's a little bit more cautious on his return to the Stampeders, which obviously raises my concern about whether Bo is going to play another game for the Calgary Stampeders.
Well, I think he's definitely going to play another game. But I agree, they lost last week, but they've been getting it done. They've been winning some games. Don't rush Bo back. We've seen what happens when quarterbacks rush back. So we'll see where it goes, but makes sense to me. Keep him out another couple of weeks. But Ray, I've been saying this all along, and I know you love this little speculation thing that you've created here about Bo getting traded. Listen, I don't want to see Bo traded until it's to our Atlantic Schooners. All right, and that'll be in a couple of years. But the moment Bo is back and he's 100% and he's ready to go, he needs to be starting for the Stampeders.
All right, sounds good. Zach Collaros. Now, there's no actual news out on Zach Collaros' return right now. They're also taking it a little bit slow.
Yeah.
But Bethel Thompson has looked pretty decent in the last couple of weeks, Andy. Like, he's putting yards up. He's scoring points.
Yeah.
If Collaros was good to go for touchdown Atlantic, would the Argos even think about putting him in a game right now?
I'm thinking no. I'm thinking Ron Burgundy gets another shot. You're right. He has been playing pretty good. He only had that one game where, he really put the team on his back. You can't ask him to do that week after week. And, the team just wasn't there to support him as much last weekend. But, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a while. I think things are going to fall into their place. I think McLeod Bethel Thompson is going to continue to play like McLeod Bethel Thompson, which means there's some slumping coming.
Yeah.
And, when there's nothing else to try, they'll go to Collaros.
There you go.
Yep.
That's your odds and ends for this week, folks.
Right on.
Let's get into some Touchdown Atlantic.
We will get into the Touchdown Atlantic now. Listen, we're heavily involved in it, I guess, so to speak. We're going to be partaking in the pregame tailgate, which will coincidentally not have any tailgates in sight. It'll basically be in a fenced-in area.
It'll be a fenced-in area, tented area. They're going to have a band called Monkey Town, Andy. Monkey Town. They're going to be performing during the tailgate, and I believe they're going to be taking the stage post-game as well. Mm-hmm. But you can't beat the prices in the tailgate. It's $5 for a beer, Andy, and $3 for a hot dog.
Yep.
Find those prices at another tailgate across Canada.
There you go. I'm not really sure how to take that one. $3 for a hot dog. They better be some damn good hot dogs.
They better be some good hot dogs.
Yeah, but we've made some various appearances in the media as of late. You've been interviewed on CTV. It feels like, a half dozen times or something?
It feels like I'm in people's living rooms every night.
You are the go-to at this point when somebody needs somebody to go over to the stadium and talk to. And then you raised a little bit of a ruckus recently with your article about the parking. Now, to give anybody listening here some background, about a year ago, we got this shiny new hockey rink here in Moncton. We already had one that was old and dated, but it was around. It's in a great location. It has a bunch of parking. And a new one was built right downtown with not a lot of parking around at all. And that's a big deal for Atlantic Canadians, okay? This is not Toronto. We don't have GO trains. We don't have streetcars. We don't have Uber. We don't have Lyft. We don't have anything. Like, even if you want a taxi, you don't just walk outside and put your arm in the air. All that's going to happen is people are going to wave to you. You got to call a taxi. So
call the dispatcher.
The way of life here is you drive, you park, you do what you got to do, and then you leave. And any stray from that whatsoever is an inconvenience here. So Ray wrote an article about how people needed to calm down about the fact that the new Avenir Center hockey rink did not have any parking. But you've taken a different approach this time to Touchdown Atlantic, because Touchdown Atlantic is taking place on the University of Moncton State campus. There are parking lots all over the place in there because there's multiple buildings where classes take place and so on. Now, again, each of those parking lots, not the biggest in the world, but if you add them all up, is there enough parking for 10,000 to 16,000 people for a CFL game? Maybe not, but there's enough for a lot of people.
There's enough for people that have purchased a seat.
Yeah.
Especially the platinum and gold seats.
Right.
There's a parking spot for them.
There you go. But newsflash, as you know, and you wrote a blog about it, there is not.
There's not. And this was kind of brought on to us. I mean, we learned this information because we agreed to take part in the tailgate at the event. And we were told by the person putting the organizer that we couldn't bring our own vehicles in the day of the game to drop stuff off, pick stuff up, park while we're in the event, right? Because there's going to be no traffic.
Yep.
And then I did a little bit more digging, Andy, and it wasn't just cars that weren't going to be allowed. There's no public transportation that's actually coming in and swinging around the stadium in the campus.
Right.
No cabs.
Aside from the shuttles.
But even the shuttles aren't coming right by the stadium. They're going to a lot, spinning around and dropping people off.
But apparently this year, way closer than in previous years to the stadium.
Okay.
That was the big deal that was made. We were on CBC Morning Show this morning with Jonna Brewer, and that was one of the things that she read in terms of somebody from the city had left a statement. And if you look at the map that's on the AtlanticSchooners.ca website, if you click on the link, how you get here under Touchdown Atlantic, it'll show you where the shuttles are going to drop people off, and it is quite close.
It is. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
But we learned a lot that we didn't understand. So, there's no, there's 3 entry points into the university. 2 of them are going to be completely blocked off, and then one of them is going to be controlled by the RCMP. Yeah. You'll be allowed through if you have a student pass or if you can show that you're with the university. People with accessibility issues, that need to go in, they do have a parking lot for those people, and they will be allowed to drive in. So that's great news, because I didn't think that was the case. I was like, wow, we're going to have to, that makes no sense to me. And then the map shows a drop-off point. So for those of us that live in Moncton who might be able to get a drive over to the stadium, there's a nice handy drop-off point where we don't have a 25-minute walk. Still a bit of a walk for us to lug a bunch of equipment into the tailgate, but it looks good. And it is what it is. I mean, we both think that moving forward, if this is not just a special event or a one-time-a-year thing, but if the Atlantic Schooners are granted, if the stadium gets a go in Halifax, but they decide they do want the 10th team for a year here in Moncton, I mean, a lot of things have to change.
A lot of things have to change. And one of the biggest things that needs to change, and this was the point of my article, it wasn't to throw the city councilors under the bus. It wasn't to throw the Schooners under the bus. I came after the university. And you know why? Because they're the only people that wouldn't return my phone call. Now, I'm not CTV or CBC. I'm Ray Dunn with First Down Sports Podcast.
Right.
But still, I was out in front of the news on a lot of these subjects. Mm-hmm. And my good friend at CTV, she tried to reach out to the university as well. And they didn't return her phone calls either. Yeah. So, listen. There's a lot of things that need to change if we have 9 regular home season games here by the Schooners at some point, Andy.
Yep.
But you know what? Touchdown Atlantic's here. Let's do it. Let's have fun, and let's get it over with.
Right. And the last thing I'll close with on this is, I think the learning experience here for all groups involved in putting on this event, this Touchdown Atlantic event, whether it be the city, the Schooners, the CFL themselves, or the university, is, if you want to sell a lot of tickets, and we're hearing that there's still a lot of tickets left to be sold, and what you're hoping to do is attract people from around the entire region here in Atlantic Canada, you got to focus a bit more on convenience. And having parking available is convenient. So I hope that's
I'll tell you one thing. For all the grief I've given the university, let me tell you one thing, Andy. I got to give some props to the university as well.
Okay.
Because the university campus bar, guess who their main beer on tap is?
Who said?
It's Moosehead.
I believe it's called the Osmose, isn't it? Something like that. Osmose. Yeah, Osmose.
Anyways, they serve Moosehead on tap. Stop by the University Bar. I'm sure it'll be open on Sunday for a Moosehead.
I wonder if Norm the Jammer still plays there.
Oh, Norm the Jammer plays all over the place.
Plays everywhere, yeah. Everywhere. Well, I mean, he pretty much owned the Osmose there. So, so that's that. We're looking forward to the game. Now, there's a meet and greet for the CFL.
Yeah.
Let's Talk Atlantic Schooners Facebook group.
Atlantic Schooners.
Right downtown Moncton. If you want to know, if you're worried about finding the place, downtown Moncton is one street. Yeah. So I wouldn't worry about it. You'll be good.
Aim for Main.
Aim for Main Street, and just keep an eye out for something called the Old Triangle.
The Old Triangle.
That's where that's going to be taking place. So thank you very much to Stan and everybody in the group that put that on. Ray and I will be there. Jeannie B will be there. Should be a blast. Get to know everybody. And hopefully not get too hungover. Specifically because we gotta be there. We gotta be at the game the next day a little early for this tailgate stuff.
That's right.
And for hungover, we're not really going to want to deal with the fact that we're probably only going to start talking about how the hell we're getting to the stadium that morning.
Andy, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well, Friday night we've got the CFL alumni golf tournament.
Well, exactly. Right, we're playing in the
and then
tournament.
Saturday we got the meet and greet, and then Sunday we got the game. I'm going to have to reach down real deep this week and see if I can go back to back to back and then take 3 days off work.
Well, I'm going to give you a line that you threw at me in the golf tournament we played in this past weekend. It's all about the rum, Andy. It's all about the rum. If there's anything that's going to get you through a back to back to back, it's that spice rum and diet, was it?
No,
what'd you get?
Appleton's and diet.
Appleton's and diet. There you go. Well, you could call Appleton's a spice rum, I guess. So, yeah. Anyway, that's the fuel that's going to get you through it. I don't know what's going to get me through it.
When you need your second win, you go to Dark and Dirty, add your little Appleton's.
Well, you don't want to know what that's going to do to me, but it won't be a second wind. All right? It might be an elbow drop onto a table or something like that. Anyways. So the fan meetup, that'll be a blast. Listen, by the end of this show, Ray, for those people who are listening to us that are coming to the game, okay? I have no idea if that's a lot of people or only a few people, okay? At the end of this show, before we wrap up, Ray's going to drop a code word. I don't know what it's going to be. Make sure it's not offensive.
I'm dropping the code word?
You're dropping it. You're going to get to choose what the code word is, and at the end of the game, at the end of this show, whenever we wrap everything up, Ray's going to call out the code word, and if you approach us at the tailgate party and you drop the code word to us, we've got something for you. We've got a prize for you. We've got some merchandise for you. All you got to do is drop that code word.
Drop the code word.
I hate to distract the heck out of you here, Ray, but you're going to have to come up with a code word.
I'll come up with a code word before the end of the show. I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking.
Grinding. All right. Well, is there anything else we want to mention about Touchdown Atlantic before we move on from this? We're the finishing line is in sight.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. I'm really looking forward to it. There's been a lot of I've been fielding a lot of messages from people that are coming, asking questions. There's been a lot, very little detail, but you know what, Andy? It's like I said, let's move past that.
Yeah,
the game is here. Let's go. We're gonna have a blast. We got to talk about the tailgate and the fact that our friends, our pals, the Moncton Mustangs are hosting the tailgate party. The Mustangs are Moncton's senior men's football team. They are the current Maritime Bowl champions, Andy.
They are.
And they will be manning the tailgate, probably the bars, and they'll probably have a couple bouncers themselves at the door checking people coming in.
There'll be a whole bunch of them over there for sure. Yeah. Just a couple quick things. Just a reminder, again, there are so many people that cannot separate this game and how it does with the Schooners itself. Anthony LeBlanc has said it. We've all said it. No matter how this game goes this weekend, and our fingers are crossed for it to be a hit, it really doesn't impact whether or not the Schooners are coming to Halifax or not. What impacts that is the business plan that Anthony LeBlanc confirmed. You know how he's so scared to give timelines now? So this tells me the business plan is done, and they're just waiting for their appointment with HRM.
Yeah.
But that business plan, that thorough business plan, the one that Halifax is going to have to say yay or nay to, is going to be presented to the council before the end of this month.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what's going to tell us whether or not we're getting the Atlantic Schooners or not this game. Will this game impact at all whether or not they decide to have a season in Moncton? Who knows? Maybe. But the ultimate goal at this point is to get the Schooners here in Atlantic Canada, and that's really it. So
let's go, Schooners. Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right.
Well, before we get out of here, we might as well run through a couple of things. We won't go through our power rankings. You already mentioned that you got a bunch of grief over yours. Long story short, guys, is the Nichols news is tough. I decided not to react to that just yet and see what Strevler can do for a game, so I left them at the top of my rankings. Ray decided this time to do the same, but because he didn't do that last time, Ticats fans already hate you. And now you got the Ticats fans helping the Winnipeg fans give you grief.
I'll tell you one thing. If the Winnipeg Blue Bombers lose this game but want to stay at the top of my rankings, I've already mentioned this once. I want to see Strevler get the ball in the end zone and go over to the end of the into the corner of the end zone, and I want to see him take a knee. Just like Timmy Tebow.
There you go.
They stay on top if that happens.
All right, next segment. But again, I want to remind you got to come up with a code word.
I got it. I'm locked in.
I just want to request that the code word be as non-football related as possible.
Non-football?
Yeah.
That's tough for me because I got the perfect one right now.
You got? Okay, well...
I need 2 words, though. 2 words.
You need 2 words? Okay, We'll go with it then. All right, so let's run through the picks. So last week, I had a 3-1 week. That takes me, and I got my lock, and my lock last week was Winnipeg over BC.
Yeah.
And the game I missed was calling Calgary to beat Montreal. That was an interesting finish. That takes me to 25-14 overall in the season. I'm 5-5 in my locks and upsets. Ray, you went 2-2, so you also called Calgary, but you called for Ottawa to upset Hamilton. You needed to pick an upset. That was the upset you picked, so I can't blame you for that. You needed to come up with one. Regardless, that takes you to 22-17 on the season. You're also 5-5 in the tiebreak.
Okay.
So let's pick some games this weekend, and conveniently, the final game we get to call is Touchdown Atlantic. Hope you weren't listening to CBC this morning because we already called it, but Winnipeg at Edmonton. We talked about it. Chris Strevler going in. Trevor Harris, I believe, was the top fantasy performing quarterback last week by a landslide.
He was.
So he's ready to rock and roll. What do you got?
Well, my friend, Trevor Harris.
Oh, it's back in the friend zone.
Back in the friend zone. Trevor Harris put up 420 yards last week, Andy, with 3 touchdowns. He's already gone through that little mid-season slump like he had last year.
Yeah, now we're getting playoff run Trevor Harris.
Now we're getting playoff run Trevor Harris, and I think that's the Trevor Harris you're going to see come out. Edmonton's still got a great defense themselves, and I see Edmonton taking this week. And it's my turn to take my lock, right?
Yes, sir.
I will take Edmonton with a lock here over the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And that's tough for me because I love the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
I get it. But you're not wearing your Bombers hat tonight, and I believe that's what's helping you do this. Listen, I think you're right. Edmonton, they got a good defense. They can get to the quarterback. And there's a new quarterback for them to get to this week. So we're going to see how that goes. I do think Chris Strevler and the Bombers are going to be able to game plan and make this a game. So at this point, I'm calling Edmonton purely because they're the home team.
Right.
All right. I'm not expecting a blowout or anything like that. I probably wouldn't lock it up if I had to pick a lock this week. But yeah, I'm going to go with Edmonton too.
Okay.
The next game, the Ottawa Redblacks on the road to face the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Tough place to play. Oh, you got your Ottawa shirt on. That is excellent. Call the game, Ray.
I am wearing my red-black outfit, but you know what? There's just something wrong with the Red Blacks organization right now. They're not playing the type of ball that I saw them play at the beginning of the year. Dominic Davis does not have the confidence.
They have the worst offense in the league.
Terrible.
Horrendous.
And I'm taking Cody Fajardo and the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
I, too, am taking the Saskatchewan Roughriders at home. Even if this game was in Ottawa, I would be taking them just as quickly. Roughriders.
Okay.
All right. Third game, Hamilton at BC. All right. Now, Hamilton, I hope they're proving a little something to you now. Now, here's the thing. I'm sure what your argument is, Ray, because I moved Hamilton back up to number 2 in my power rankings. I think you gave them a spot, but they're still way too low, and the fans are very upset in your power rankings. It's like I find it's time to start respecting the team surrounding this quarterback at this point, because their special teams, their defense, everything is just great, and they've been managing to win some games. Now, I'm sure your argument is they haven't really beat a good team. Well, here's the problem. With all these quarterback injuries in the CFL this year, there aren't a lot of good teams, right? Yeah. And you don't have to beat a lot of good teams. And they're facing a horrible team this week at home, Hamilton at BC. Call your game.
The last time these two teams met was in Hamilton. The final score was 35-34, and Hamilton just barely came back to win that game.
Just barely got it.
Now this game's going back to BC. Mm-hmm. The Lions are at home, and I'm taking the BC Lions to upset the Hamilton Ticats at home. And it's not even my turn to take an upset.
You're right.
But I'm taking this game.
So I don't blame you, and this was almost my upset because I have to pick an upset, all right? But I'm going to throw a little monkey wrench at you here in a second. But this was an excellent upset candidate. I almost took BC, but I can't do it. I disrespected Hamilton too much early on after the Jeremiah Masoli injury. Can't do it. I think they're going to continue winning. They're playing the worst team in the league. I think they're going to go on the road to BC, and they're going to handle BC, which brings us to Touchdown Atlantic. Now, I know what you're thinking, Ray. Andy, you called the game this morning.
Yeah.
So what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Well, I'm throwing a monkey wrench at you.
Okay.
All right. So, and I'll start. I'll give you the call here. I originally thought Montreal would win this game. Now, I think both teams on the road, neutral stadium. I think the crowd here is probably going to be more with Montreal than the Argos, probably, though. It should be quite split. But I think both teams are going to be in an unfamiliar surrounding place. The Montreal is way better at home than they are on the road. And, Toronto's been playing good. James Wilder Jr. is back. We don't even know for sure if he's playing, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that he is. Yeah. Anything can happen in a Touchdown Atlantic. I'm making up that tagline right now. So though I called Montreal this morning on CBC because Jonna caught me off guard, asking me to call the game. I was like, Jonna, we do that on the podcast. Don't ask me to do that on CBC morning show at 7 a.m. But I did anyways, and I called Montreal by 10, but I'm not doing that now. Ray, Montreal is definitely my favorite of the two teams in Touchdown Atlantic, but I am calling Toronto to upset Montreal at Touchdown Atlantic.
Wow, there you go. Listen, both these teams are going to be excited for this game. It's a game that's not on the regular schedule. And anytime during a season you can switch things up as a team and have your players experience something new, that's going to bring excitement to both clubs.
Yep.
I do believe Touchdown Atlantic is going to have a good crowd. I think by the time game time's gone and we've gone through the tailgate and there's going to be a band in the stadium as well, I think it will be a good crowd for a football game.
Yep.
Anytime Vernon Adams Jr. is at the helm as the quarterback, I got to take him. Yep. I don't blame you at all. This guy is really good quarterback. Last week, how he came back against Calgary, down 18 points, and came back and pulled off a tie, went into double overtime and won that game, Andy. This guy's a gamer. I don't know what's going on with Standback, the running back. I'd love to know his status for the game. He's still listed as hurt.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I'm taking Montreal with the score I picked on CBC, 32-24 over the Argos.
Yeah. And if I didn't need an upset, and I didn't want to make a little bit of a splash, I probably would have went with Montreal as well. But I will stand by my pick. All right, let's talk fantasy, Ray. Real quickly, I'll run through our performance last week. You had an okay week.
I had a pretty good week.
I did not have a good week. A second bad week in a row, 65.5 points. That gets me to 818.5 on the season. I'm still second in First Down Sports. I've dropped to 24th in the Schooners group. I was up to 17th at one point. You had 83 points, which is actually a really good week for you.
It is good. I told you it was going to turn around.
Yeah.
It's turned around.
That gets you to 730 37.8 on the season. You're still 5th in First Down Sports, and the good news is you stayed at 35th.
Nice.
I'm
coming, baby.
Now we're going to try something a little special this week.
Okay.
And anybody who's listening, if you want to do this as well, and let's be honest, I really don't know why you would want to. But if you do, Ray and I are going to challenge each other this week. We're building our entire TSN CFL fantasy teams using only players that are in Touchdown Atlantic. Now, the point, the potential of a high-scoring point team when you put yourself in a predicament where you can only choose from 2 teams, probably not a lot of potential there. But for us, here's how this is going to work. Whoever wins this little competition, whoever has the most points with this team this week, at the end of the season when we tally up our fantasy to see who beat the other guy, there will be 25 bonus fantasy points added to the score of whoever wins this Touchdown Atlantic Challenge.
And I need those right now.
And if there is anybody listening that you guys want to give this a try, Greg from the podcast down in Halifax, I can't remember, Atlantic Zone. Greg from Atlantic Zone Coverage, you come to mind. Ray Perkin, you come to mind. If you guys want to try this, all you got to do is set your lineup as well. And then, listen, if you guys beat our score, just send us a message anywhere on Twitter, Facebook, our cell phones if you have it, whatever. Let us know and just give us your username, give us your score, and if you beat us, we've got some merch for you. Merch for you. All right, if you want to participate. Ray, take me through your Touchdown Atlantic TSN Fantasy Squad.
All right, Andy, as of right now, I am going to be doing something very similar to what I did a couple weeks ago.
Right.
Now, this all depends on the status of Wild Jr.
Wilder. Yep.
Okay, Wilder Jr.
Yep.
It's going to depend on his status. So there might be a game day change, which I can do because I'll only be using players from that game.
Yeah, no problem.
But right now, my quarterback is Adams Jr. I got Jeremiah Johnson from Montreal, Wilder Jr., which I talked about. I got wide receiver Eugene Lewis and Darrell Walker from Toronto. I'm skipping the flex, and I'm skipping the D.
Once again, you're skipping 2 spots. Nobody else does this, folks, but Ray does it. He tried it once. It didn't work well at all. But this is all about this Touchdown Atlantic Challenge.
It's all about points. Points, and these will be the gentlemen putting up the points in this game.
All right. Well, here's my team currently, and it also comes down to whether or not James Wilder Jr. is going to play. I chose Adams Jr. as my quarterback as well. I was tempted to try to work something out with McLeod Bethel Thompson, but I've started him twice so far this season, and they were some of my worst weeks. I never get it right. Brandon Burks, the running back that may start in place of James Wilder Jr., and if not, hopefully a couple spot carries. He was dirt cheap. So Brandon Burks and Jeremiah Johnson I have as my 2 running backs. Armani Edwards, the receiver for Montreal that I'm pairing up with Adams Jr. Quan Bray as well. Armani Edwards is with Toronto, isn't he?
Yes,
Toronto, sorry. Quan Bray, I'm taking, and James Wilder Jr. is in my flex spot right now.
Nice.
Okay, now if something happens there, and I'm only not starting a D, I'm not crazy enough to try not starting 2 positions. I just can't see how that mathematically makes much sense. But anyway, that's where it's at.
All right.
Well, that's the show. That's the Road to Touchdown Atlantic show. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube.
Like it. Subscribe to our Podbean account. Every time we upload a new podcast, you'll get it right away.
Exactly.
Andy, I had a little joke to make on the way out tonight.
Okay.
But I'm going to pass on that joke. And I just want to say this, okay? I haven't had a Rays rant tonight yet.
No, that's true.
And I'm not going to go too overboard tonight.
Okay.
But our Let's Talk Atlantic Schooners group, okay?
Yep.
I can't wait to meet this group. I can't wait to meet and mingle and joke and get to know some of the members of this group.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
But there are some people in this group, Andy.
Yeah.
I'm sure I would love them in person.
Right.
But I am so sick and tired of seeing posts, this team will never happen in Atlantic Canada. It's a debacle. They can't even sell out one game. There's no way.
Amateur
hour, and there's no way. This team would be better off in Quebec City. This team would be better off in Portland, Oregon. Came out today.
Whoa,
this team would be better off in none of it.
None of it.
And all I'm telling you is, on that last location, for you real Schooners fans, pay attention to that and don't listen to none of it, because this team deserves to be in Atlantic Canada.
Oh, I see.
It deserves to be in Halifax and hopefully 1, possibly 2 seasons in Moncton. But I can't wait to cheer Go Schooners Go and stop listening to this negativity that it's not going to work in Atlantic Canada.
Okay, Rip. All right. That was a pretty mild rant. So that was pretty good.
All
right. Let's get out of here. Hope to see you guys at the meetup. Unless you're one of the people Ray was just talking about, but we want to meet you as well. And we definitely hope to see you at the tailgate, because if we do see you at the tailgate and you utter the following word...
Oh, here we go. I just got to set it up a little bit.
Okay.
This is a Mustangs tailgate, which I told you about.
Yep.
Who's our favorite player for the Mustangs?
That would be their long snapper, Denny Dweron.
So the key word or the code words is long snapper.
Long snapper, folks.
Long snapper.
Right. If you see us at the tailgate and you come up and you say long snapper to us, we got some merch for you.
That's
going to be an excellent choice, right? Excellent choice. Very happy with that. Perfect. All right. Take care, guys. We can't wait to kind of unravel everything that happens at Touchdown Atlantic for you next week.
Awesome. See you guys on the weekend.